different on both of them.
That's two separate
I
screens.
know. I just figured that out. When I started to think about Thanksgiving, that was my exact thought. What you were just talking about. And yes, we have two screens now, guys. We're extremely high tech. Tiffany got the cords.
We're like looking at different.
We're looking at like every screens. We don't even know. We're just looking. We're looking at everyone right now. We're just like,
This
put
is
your
why,
head on a spinner.
This is why church with live broadcast works so well.
Right. You just like look
drawn to the
at
screen.
this one for a minute. Pan over. So when you think about Thanksgiving, which happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Something we're thankful for today is all the reviews that we're getting and all the downloads, the people that are listening and sharing. Thank you for that. Very thankful for that. All you got to do is go to iTunes, which is my favorite, and click on the podcast, search it, Get Canceled. Click on it. You can start downloading it. You can subscribe. And if you just slide to the bottom, you can give us 5 stars. If you give us 1 star, you suck.
But also, if you haven't listened to the one with Gabe Sherman from
NASA.
last week, that was sick.
And if
it might
you-
have dropped this week. I don't know, but
It just did, and it'll get posted
It was
today.
awesome.
It is really good. It's always really good to talk to Gabe. The thankful part, though, when you think about Thanksgiving happening in a couple of days, I was just laying. Actually, this has happened to me the last couple nights. Kind of laying in bed, going, for years and years and years, my family did, like a lot of people, a very big Thanksgiving. All of my family's from Verdigris and Claremore.
Right.
And it's the Dorsey side, so my grandpa had 12 siblings. Well, back in the day, when they had 12 siblings, all of them had 100 people.
Right.
So Granny Dorsey was the start of that lineage, going down. Well, now we're talking 46 of my years later. Nearly everyone is dead except for my grandpa, who's 94. And even the people younger are either dead and or divorced or changed. And so we went from 120 people at a Thanksgiving for a couple of decades to everyone having micro Thanksgivings and there being no remnant of what
Right.
was left.
Yeah.
And so when you ever hear that phrase, which is this popped in my head just now when I said that, have you ever heard, we're like No, Kellen.
That was your big word of the day.
I mean, yeah.
I
But
thought
my
'cause he was
thought,
wearing the new hoodie that looked like the,
The scarf.
the thing. Yeah,
my
the scarf.
thought was this,
Big
though.
words.
Have you guys ever heard that phrase, we're always just one generation away from people not knowing who Jesus is?
Yep.
Well, that's a little micro study of it. You have decades of a family, and then all of a sudden, quickly, it doesn't exist anymore.
And that happened with my family too. Like my dad's one of 7, and so, there's 7 kids, and then everyone averaged at minimum 2 kind of thing. Some of
Right.
them had 4, some have 3. One of them has 0, like kind of things like that. But, like once grandma died, it was like, holy crud, like how do we get together? And it was like, it's the same as before. We just pick a house and go to it, but like it takes a while to like figure out the rhythm while everyone has grandkids and, now and have their own families. And
Live
so,
further away. We did the same. Both of my grandmas passed the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And we always went over early morning, lunch,
Yeah.
and then picked, and we'd have a dinner at the other one. And that's happened, like you said, Brian. We've done it with all the extended family I'm 40, so 38 years until last year. And so we're figuring out all of our new, and that's what I'm trying to focus on is what is important to the Lord, what's important for our family, and what's our new tradition, because it can't be what it was.
Right.
It's
Right.
moved on. So when I lay there the last couple nights, and so starting within the last almost 5 years, my dad died, then my brother died,
Yeah.
then my grandma died, which when I say grandma, I've had a few grandmas, I've had a couple of grandmas pass, and it sucks, but this one was kind of like the main one.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like the one, her husband, my grandpa's still alive, he's 94 in Claremore, so, and it's been crazy to watch how once my brother died, you could see him, that weirded him out. This guy was golfing, pulling a bag for all the holes at 90. Then my grandma died. And golly, that's crazy. And when you've been, these old couples that were together for 68,
60+.
69 years,
Yeah.
that's a complete change and modification of anything most people in our age group can even understand. Even though we support it, I don't know that we can really relate to what that means to see someone every single day for 66 years or something. You know what I mean? What the weight is of that. Then my mom, that one was a huge surprise. My mom's always had weird health, but dying was not even in our purview. And so we've noticed him this year now. Once that happened, he's just like on a steep slope down. It's just like they mail it in. He went from as healthy of a 90-year-old as I could see to like, what do I have to live for type of thing. It's like a mindset. So that's the last 4.5 years. And I was thinking the other day how quickly things go from one way to another way in just a snap of a finger. And trying to process, it sucks. We're talking to a lot of people today and this week, I'm sure, that have lost someone in their life, in their family. Dude, we have a customer who's going to spend her first Thanksgiving with no husband. That just happened.
And he wasn't even old.
Not old.
He was not old at all.
Not old.
Yeah.
And so it's something that's happening to people all the time. It's a death and life. It's undefeated. Something's going to happen eventually. And when you think about how we're trained to carry this, I was just telling you guys before, kind of I'd written in my notes as I was just doodling on something, is the world around us, like it's our culture. I don't want to use world right now because I don't have enough experience in other countries to know how it's built around men and masculinity. I venture to say, though, that this type of thought process has trickled its way down no matter where you live for the most part. But I know in our culture, it's very, very normal for men to be trained to carry stress. We're trained to think, hey, you need to carry the weight of the world if you're going to be a survivor, a protector, a provider. And what that ends up doing, while I think parts of that are true if it's done in the right way, if the person's trained to understand how to handle it, if it's being handed to the Lord in a regular way, I think there's a lot of correctness there. But when you take someone who doesn't depend on the Lord at all, and then take the Lord out of it, someone who isn't balanced in their life, doesn't have a good schedule, and they're carrying the weight of the world, and they're having to work 10, 11, 12 hours a day in a trade, come home, and then guess what? They're told, hey, but now you've got to save enough for your kids, you got to save enough for your wife, and we're expecting men just to understand these thought processes. It's wild to me. If you got up at 6 this morning and you worked on the line, call it the electric poles, and that's what you did all day, and you got home at 7 o'clock today, and you're supposed to have all of it left for wives and kids, that's a lot. It's a lot. I'm not saying I don't agree with it. I'm just saying how. And then take this part of it. These men never got trained that. Dude, these men got trained how to get up and go provide. Almost nobody showed them how to save enough to come home or how to get a second wind on the way home. Dude, these guys just want to get home and put a dip in, grab a beer and eat.
And go to bed. Well, and you hit on something a couple things that are really important. First off is their definition of provision. Our dads. Mm-hmm. The definition of provision, and then we go through the word and get around some healthy people who are like, oh, this isn't providing, but was just financial. Is food and shelter.
Yeah, there was no emotional.
That's not full provision.
Anything like that.
So we're living in a lie. And then you brought up, hey, I poured everything out. Now everybody wants to, pour all this onto me. I don't know how to deal with it. And so a lot of men, they isolate. That's what we do with it, is we just bury it and move on. But a lot of men stop becoming social too. And so, Bryan, your grandpa's a great example. That's statistically most men. If the woman passes first, the guy spirals and just goes.
Right.
Most of the time, the guy will go first. We're reckless, like in a lot of different areas. There's a lot of statistics about why guys go first. But women are most of the time statistically healthier because they're social and they continue to live life. Whereas men isolate, and that statistic says when a man isolates and the woman's gone because there's nothing, the purpose stops and he dies quickly, right? So if I isolate with nothing to live for, I start dying.
Well, you know what's crazy about what you just said, Kellen? So many people have this thought that men are so barbaric, that we don't care, that we're ego-driven. And a lot of these things are true in some ways, but what's the connection between men And this example, I can tell you in my past, and I've been in a marriage relationship, if my wife was out of sorts, upset, mad, whether it was me or anything, but I wasn't getting a good version of her, I wasn't gonna have a good day. My motivation seemed like it was kind of sucked out of me. And then if she was in a better mood, I felt like, okay, I'm on top. I start to think there is a connection between men losing these things. It may be self-inflicted. They may have done something wrong. They may be losing their partnership over something very valid. But it doesn't change the fact that when they do, the weird decline that happens in the man, but he's still big, strong, provider, protector, and all these things. Nothing about that changed. He just messed up or didn't and lost a spouse. What changed?
Well, a lot of it is, from a guy's perspective, is they feel like they lost purpose.
It's unseen.
You know,
it's a vibe, like a.
Oh, I'm supposed to protect the wife. I'm supposed to protect the family. Like, I have no one to protect. Like, the wife is gone.
Part of it's misplaced identity.
Yeah,
but
that's a great word.
The other part, though, because I've actually experienced this. We went out on a weekend, and a lot of guys had to go through what we call mat work, and it's dealing with a child inside of us. And they weren't super healthy in the marriage, but all these emotions come up. And it's the only place we experience them, which means we're so sheltered, we're not giving any of those emotions ever to God. And what we do over time, especially when we talk about being married, is we put our wife in certain places where our relationship with God would be. And so when they pass, that was misplaced the whole time. And not that we don't love them like Christ loved the church. It's biblical. Like, selflessly love your wife. Search yourself constantly as the man of the family to be unselfish in every scenario and carry some of that weight and take those things to God. We don't do that well at all. We don't take them anywhere. We bury them. But I would say a big part of it, from what I've actually seen through counseling sets, is the man has positioned the wife, because it's the only place that he has that depth of a relationship, that physical and emotional connection, especially when you make love with your wife, where he's given God none of that place. So literally, when the woman passes, something in him dies, because it's the only place he's ever experienced it. And that's why when we get married, we need marriage counseling like crazy. Because for almost all men, we're about to experience a set of emotions that in no other relationship do we have to use, have, or deal with. And Bryan, I'm the same way. When I was going through some stuff actually recently in counseling, dude, Tara is amazing, right? But if she's having a bad day, or I'll turn into a little kid and get frustrated and basically say something like, you don't get to be mad at me for saying this if I'm trying to correct, because if you're mad, then I'm screwed anyway, right? Because I emotionally carry it. And so, again, that's a place that I'm giving my wife some emotional equity that's not wrong, but God belongs there too. So I shouldn't be plagued by it for 4 or 5 hours, but there are areas where I still am. If she's not good and she's emotionally upset with me, I carry it for multiple hours still in certain parts of my life.
Yeah. I'm the same way. I find myself a lot of times, because it's just so wired up in me to be a provider and a protector, that even in situations where people that I'm, maybe even not married to traditionally anymore or whatever, or out of sorts, it'll affect me still, because I still feel certain obligations to keeping the walls up, to keeping everything going, to keeping the machine churning. And a lot of that, we've got to figure out as men how to work through that in a healthy way, to where we can still kind of feel some of that weight, but we've got to find a place to give it over to. Being responsible enough to understand it, feel it, see that it's there, and learn how to fight it, I think is fine. What we can't do, though, is get into this space where we're drowning. We need to be in the boat, not out of the boat on the deal. In the boat says we can direct it, we can steer it, we're under control. When we jump off of the boat and get in the mess, that's when we're still feeling all of it, we're still providing, protecting all these things, but it's killing us. It's drowning us.
We have to find, and I was looking at some information on this about like a week ago, ironically. There's some things, like when it's only you and your wife, right? men, and we've said this in a past episode, men need healthy men. Because, Bryan, you run a business, right? You're doing another business. If that starts failing or you have doubt, your wife, when you have kids, she's worried about provision for them, and that's part of your provision. She may not be the person that you take all that burden to. She's not going to get it. And I mean, I don't know how many times you've been frustrated in a relationship with this. I know I have, is like, and it's dumb. I want my wife to be full of joy, but I'm carrying the weight of the world. And if I share it, she just kind of lightly pops through the living room, still happy. And I'm like, you're not, like, it's just, there's something for a man that it's space for another man to be there for him with that you won't get. And the other thing that you said that I think we need to address, this has been a wrong frame, especially for our dads. It's a toxic man. Men have emotions. Jesus Christ had emotions. God gave us emotions. We are emotional. And we've shut those off to be barbaric in times. We are both. That's what we have to understand, is we are called to be gentle and to be a safe place for people and to grow in our emotions, to lead. But we're also called, if somebody comes through the front door that's unsafe, there's a switch. And I've told my wife this, like, if somebody's unsafe, like, I really wouldn't regret what happened as long as everybody else was okay. And that's, some of that's God-given, right? So I think we're both.
I think what you're saying is true as it pertains to your wife. You know, the problem we have there is, I think men want to share. We want to talk to them. The problem that I think men run into is we start to kind of share everything with them, and then instead of it just talking it through, we almost start to hand stress to them too on an accident because we're feeling it. We have to figure out ways to communicate with our spouses to keep them transparently involved in whatever the scenario is, understanding that their gifts are generally going to be compassion, discernment, nurturing. Well, the problem is they can't nurture us if we're bullheaded. They can't offer discernment if we already know what we're going to do. We've already decided, you know. And it's really hard for them to offer us compassion when we're being very hard and we're not being soft and gentle. What we have to try to figure out doing is when we're talking to our wives or spouses or whatever, is how can we relay to them a concern? Hey, here's what I'm carrying. I'm working through it. And immediately maybe take it to a place to where we're either praying about it or we're trying to find wisdom on it. We're not just both now spinning out of stress over it, but we can't hide it either. I know a lot of men, guys, that if they get themselves in a bind, they spin. And I'll actually use this example because I don't think they would mind, some friends of ours, because they've actually learned through this process to where we had a husband and wife situation. We have a situation on the finances to where it's not as much as a team effort as it probably should be, but it's a work in progress type of thing. Because it's pretty hard to everyone be involved 50-50 on the finances. There's generally one person that's good at it, the other person that sucks.
Well, I'll say this on that, for everybody listening, and Tara and I have gone through this a lot. Like, you married somebody, in certain areas they're going to have more maturity, in certain areas they aren't. We shouldn't be immediately equally what we call yoked. We won't be in the same place in all areas.
Right.
That's why we're together. And so we have to take whatever's important and work on it together and give the other person grace that if one of us is more mature in their area, they're not where we're at. And those are the facts. Deal with it.
Well, and to your point, that's where extreme honesty comes into play. Because when you start talking about your budget or your finances, one's strong, one may not be as strong on it. Well, if the strong one gets in a bind and wants to twist or lie about what's going on to the other one that's not as involved inherently because they're not as strong on it, that's going to cause a problem. And what we've got to be able to do is figure out how to face our challenges, whether it be a budget, a financing issue, a job issue, a stress in the business, or a stress somewhere else, to where how can we address this together without you trying to carry my weight? Where do we take it? Where do we take the weight? And then also, how can we communicate through it where we don't ruin the rest of the day or the rest of the night or the weekend?
Well, and that we don't break trust. And so Tara and I actually went to a counselor for this. There was a couple specific areas that we were unhealthy and we weren't getting healthy. And so we invited another wise third party to help us lead through that. And you know what we found out? Because both of us needed something out of this area. Let's say it's finance, right? We need to talk through it. Versus telling Tara what I needed and why finance was important in the season, I was attacking her for what I didn't have. Like I was posting blame. Well, in posting blame towards my wife, because I'm just being straightforward like I would talk to a guy, this is missed. I wasn't creating any space to hear what she actually needed. She felt attacked, and so she felt unsafe. If I'm with my wife, even with you, any conversation, especially with a relationship, this goes for guys and girls. If you feel unsafe to approach that again, you know how we all know how crappy a feeling that feels. You're playing a false story. Hey, if I bring this up, this is how it's going to end. This is how I'm going to feel for this long.
Well, and when I kind of offered up my 2 cents into that specific situation, which again, guys, by the way, when we're spitballing scenarios here, there's going to be times to where we're offering up perspective that may not be perfect. It maybe it's worked at our house, maybe we've heard about it working, but what we're trying to bring up is topics to where you can start to at least realize they're there. And so what I brought to this conversation was, hey, number one, I've messed this up before. So what I think we've got to do is always be honest no matter what happened. But number two, to the other person involved, your reaction is key. If someone brings truth to you because you're in a bind in your budget and your response is to freak out, react, accuse when they're trying to be transparent, don't be surprised that next time things get haywire, that you don't get the truth. Because now what they did is you taught them that when they come and bring truth to you, that you're coming after them. Well, now all of a sudden, someone's immediate reaction and thought's going to be, well, next time, I am not telling you that. Next time we're in a bind, I'm going to make this thing seem okay, or I'm going to figure out how to make it okay. And that's not healthy either.
No.
We've got to understand that as a partner, and I'm talking about something right now that I know very little about from good experience, but I can think about a time to where I think if you're able to go into a conversation and have it without this concern and worry that your spouse is going to sleep in a different room or leave or shut down or be so unreasonable that you can't even communicate, that gets really hard. And when I get around men, or even myself personally, when you've done that, I have to almost give myself or them a little bit of grace on doing the wrong thing, because the experience and the situation they were in was so difficult that you were out of ways to handle it.
Yeah, and I think that's what I want to say on the tail end of that is, like, Bryan, you brought these couple scenarios up. If there's any emotional feeling towards anybody that listens in your relationship or your past relationship, you're okay where you're at. That's the safest thing. Just like when we deal with any kind of addiction, like, the most powerful thing you can do is just own right where you're at, and that's okay. Because when you own where you're at, you can move forward.
Right.
I will say the hardest part of this is the onus of that is on the man. When men are here to protect, pursue, and provide, part of protecting your wife is to learn more about her. And Bryan, you said something really important. Well, no, if I actually go back and reflect and I quit being wounded and taking offense towards everything she says, man, this topic seems to do that. I learn more about what's going on. And then for women, like, you have so much power in this because guys are super simple. We can have a blow up about finance. We can have a blow up about a car. We can have a blow up about the kids. And if you'll take a couple hours, or we'll sleep and wake up and you'll come to us and tell us how awesome we are at something, and you're excited for what we do that day and empower us, we're going to forget about the whole other conversation. Like, we're just really, because that's what men do for each other, is we don't just address the thing. That's what you need counseling or tools or whatever for. We tell each other where we're great and go get some and keep going forward, and we've got your back when you're ready to come back and talk about the other thing. And that's one of the things that's been the biggest blessing to me in some of my hardest seasons. Like, you know, you've been in a couple of those where you're fine, then the weight, and this is what you're talking about with men, the weight of absolutely everything hits at once.
It all comes at once, it seems
it's
like.
Because the weight gets broken up into a lot of pieces. And this is random, but I'm watching a show called Prison Break right now that came out a while back. It's a fantastic show. If you have never watched it, go ahead and watch that. But
There's tons of nudity in that show, Thad.
Sorry, we're in season
Kidding,
one.
I haven't seen it yet.
But
is it
you
good?
would really actually like it. You would really like it. But
Is there a bunch of that in there or no? I'm
not
trying
so
to add
far.
up shows.
Not so far.
Not that I saw. I only watched a couple seasons, but you would like it. the premise, one of the brothers gets locked up, and the younger, really, really, really smart brother gets himself put in prison to break him out.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Oh,
But like
All at it.
at first they're like trying to dig this hole through this concrete. Well, they can't just like dig a hole and like not hide the evidence. So they have these little crumbs of rocks, and they're literally like putting them in the yard and like stamping their foot down and whatever. And that's how all of this weight feels like it gets added to your shoulders. Is people don't drop 80-pound boulders on you. They drop, 81-pound boulders on you sporadically through the course of a couple weeks. And it's like, man, that does add up, because it's the same weight as 80-pound one time. And then it's like, oh man, I don't know if I'm strong enough to carry all this, because you've had 1 pound or just get added on, which doesn't seem like a lot, but when you got a bunch of them on there, it is a lot.
But men don't like to strike out, right?
No.
So let's put this in the sport. So I struck out, and now I've got to put my head back on and keep moving forward. And I've had all those coaches, but like when you lose a job, or your kid's sick, or somebody gets cancer, or you get a divorce, or grandma dies, for this next season, the kids are looking at you going, what do we do? And I miss grandma. We don't do a good job at all, and this is where it catches up and everybody else for us. Like if we would tell another dude, they're like, bro, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
We tell ourselves the lie
That's not a big deal.
hey, it's a strikeout. So what am I programmed to do? Now I got to move forward. And what every man needs to do is we take it to the Lord. So you need to talk to God, but take it to another safe guy. I went to Safe People a long time ago, and let them tell you this is this big of a deal.
Yeah.
And hopefully somebody, I had this conversation an hour ago, loves you enough to say, hey, bro, I know that you see light on the other side of this dark tunnel you're in, and you keep talking to me about light. God has a season for you to actually sit where you're at and tell him that this is difficult. Because if you move forward like you've done your whole life, and this is this big of a deal, because what he's going through is really, really big, right? For everybody. Yeah. Anybody going through this season would say it was big. Your heart's not healed, and it's going to catch up. And then not only are you going to be fractured, but everything around you is going to feel your fracture. And that's the other hard thing, ladies. I had this conversation with a wife of a guy at church the other day. She came up and was following up. I'm ministering to this guy. They went through some big stuff this last year, good and bad. And the way she was articulating things, she was communicating to me, I just need him to stop doing this, 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 and this. And I tell him if he'll quit doing this, 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 and this. And it's interesting because we had Deborah Wimpy on. I'm throwing this in Jody's face right now. Right? We had Deborah on the podcast, and she gave us a frame for what we were talking about that neither one of us could see or think of until she said it, because we're guys. For women, I want to give you the same frame.
God bless Deb.
Yeah.
Like, she's wonderful.
There you go, Jody. So no,
that's not digging Jody.
but
either.
for a guy thing, from a guy's perspective, I need the ladies to know, hey, guess what? We already know the action's bad. Sometimes we don't know why we can't stop. We don't like ourselves for it, and we're actually sitting in shame. And so when somebody comes up, even a guy, and says, you suck at X or stop doing Y, we either shut down or blow up, because we're already running a cycle of shame on ourselves that we don't have anybody to help us get out of. We need somebody to help us see what we're still capable of, so that we have the capacity to work through the thing that's broken, because we're out of capacity. And Bryan, I think that's where you started with this conversation, is what do guys do? And that's really the word, when I feel like I want to isolate and I can't articulate it, but the truth is I'm out of capacity.
Well, when you start to think about out of capacity, is we're all different kinds of people. We're built different. We're wired up different. We're designed different. So we can't expect everyone to just understand how you handle things. When it comes to capacity, I would be considered a high capacity person. I'm very high output, high capacity. I can work really fast, but a lot of times I'm going to be shortchanged on the caring about what I'm doing or who's around, because I'm so focused on like a machine. And so with the good comes the bad. Well, then sometimes you get people who they're not as high capacity, but they feel a lot. they every single thing that that's happening around they're going on, they feel it really hard, they feel it really heavy, and there's like a connection to it that they can't explain. So when we talk about capacity, I think that people have to understand you can't always learn capacity. Science says that if you become a better time manager, that you at times can increase your capacity. I don't know if that's true. I could see some connection to it, because if you manage your time better, you can create more space to do stuff. But I think when we start to talk about emotional capacity, that thing's different. Emotional capacity, I think, has to be watered and trained and coached and understood internally, and then prayed through, and then, reading the word and trying to receive from people. That's what I think emotional capacity can grow. You got to have experiences, go through them, and learn how to navigate it better and better and better. And I think once you do that, Kellen, surely your emotional capacity starts to increase, because you've gone through it, right? Now you know.
It absolutely does, but it's so complicated, because we talk through people they haven't cleared their wounds. So you have wounds from people, but a lot of people have wounds in childhood. Right, and so we talked a while back about what it looks like when I face something difficult. So let's say I'm walking into a storm. They always talk about like the cows and the way that they do it versus the buffalo thing, right? So I'm walking into a storm, but what I don't realize is I've dropped anchor, and I'm actually dragging the bottom while I walk into a storm. So that can be a problem. But the other thing, what I actually wanted to talk about that you said that's really beautiful, is everybody's not me. We're all different, and there's beauty in all of it. And we really shoot ourselves in the foot. Like if I looked at you, Bryan, and I gauged capacity off how you lived, well, I'm the one, and I'm not, by the way. I'm thankful for this. I think it's the most beautiful gift ever. I'm not the one that walks into a room and can spiritually feel where everybody's at. By the way, that's a gift. I know who's high, I know who's low, and I feel all of it. And what I'm called to do is move to minister, or I'm called to intercede in prayer, because I'm that sensitive. I'm a feeler. I am not a feeler. And I like that I'm not. So we really misjudge other people. And that's what we do in marriage all the time, bro. The hardest thing is I insist my wife has to be like me, because that'll make my life easier. Selfishness destroys everything.
Yeah, we get, again, I'm probably speaking from the other side of my mouth right now. I'm clearly not a massive success story in the way of marriage, but what I have learned over the course of the last 10 or 15 years and being able to compare and contrast situations. I said this the other day. I've said it more than once to somebody. I can remember specific times in marriage that I could have done something different that would have been very healing for the marriage, and not to get super weird on it, but even talking about the kid's mom, whom, I don't know, she may not want me to tell this story, but here we are, because it's a great example.
As long as you're wearing a scarf, you can tell it.
This is an amazing shirt. I don't know if you guys even understand how amazing it is.
It looks cool, but it definitely looked like a scarf when you walked in here.
Yeah, it looks like
this shirt
looks like you're breathing different air than the rest of us.
This shirt makes it to where I can go anywhere that I need to go today and still work within the nonsense that's going to be offered to me.
I just gave up on that a long time ago.
But we lived on I've got a number of examples, but this one's always stuck out so much to me, and I don't know why. We lived on a ranch, with land and animals, and they just were in love with these freaking chickens. And guys, I hate chickens. Lord, I've got a friend right now that's probably listening that's so upset with what I just said. I don't like chickens. They're messy. They poop around all the tile and rock around the pool. And then you got to go power wash it off. You can't just wash it off with a water hose. It's like nitrous. It's horrible. And so they're just worse than dogs and every other thing on the planet. And I remember one evening they come running in, and one of their chickens they had named, which is obviously a big mistake. Why would you name the chickens? They're going to be dead soon. They're not pets, but whatever. Is dead. A rodent of some sort got in the barn and killed it. So I'm being summoned, and you know what? Here's where it starts, and I think it was so easy, guys. And I'm not saying this would have altered the future or changed anything because there's a number of big things that could have happened throughout the course, but this one always just stuck out to me. When I turned left, I should have turned right. My reaction was, oh my gosh, it's dark, I'm tired, I'm laying down already, I gotta get a pistol, I've got to go out here, I've got to shoot this rodent who won't get away from the other ones, and then we got to dispose of this chicken. Not the way. See, they all cared about the chicken. When I say they all, she did, the kids did, it was a thing. And so what they were seeing was a pet, something they loved and cared about, had been viciously attacked by a rodent. What I see is an annoyance from people who are annoying me. And ultimately, had I just went out, been compassionate, got rid of the rodent as planned, but then maybe left space to take the chicken back, dig a little hole, make it a more like this is sad situation that we can always remember the way it needs to be remembered. Kind of sad, but we'll all move on. Instead, I created a situation in which I was annoyed. This was dumb. I told you so. They're a pain in the butt. Why am I doing this? And ultimately, what I was kind of from a very immature place showing the family was that they were annoying. They were making me get out of the way. They were extra and they weren't worth it. Instead of just turning left. Turn left, bro. Throw on your hoodie. Make it a thing to where it's like, hey, let's go take care of this. Take care of the rodent and then make this some kind of a special thing. And then how can we protect the rest of them? That wouldn't have taken me any more time. Nothing would have been harder about it. It just would have been a much more memorable situation for them. And so my gut tells me if we were to ask her some 8 or 9 years later about that event, I guarantee she remembers how stupid I made it. Right? You're married for 10 years, but my gut tells me that she would remember exactly how that night went because it was emotional for them. It's going to be in their memories forever. They were loved it. And so I would encourage men specifically, instead of having to sit up here like I'm doing, telling a story about a time that you could have created a healing opportunity for your spouse, kids, or whatever, stop then and create it. Just stop. Stop getting stressed out. Don't get mad. Don't get overwhelmed. If you need to breathe, breathe. Just remember, these moments that you're having are generally going to come from a problem, a challenge, or something stressful. That's your cue. That's your cue. If you need to know, hey, Bryan, when is one of these times that I could be better? It's almost all the time because you're always going to be pretty good when it's good. Things are great. Celebrate. But if you feel a moment coming on that offers stress, the opportunity to be transparent and not lie, the opportunity to care for someone, your family, in a way that is over the top, which is good. By the way, that's not a sarcastic usage of over the top. Do it then. That's your cue because you're going to regret it later. Stop. Don't freak out. Don't overreact because right now that all that time you were talking about being a provider and a protector, now's your time.
But I think the other side of that too is how we come back. And so, Bryan, what I would say is if you asked, the mother of your kids, your ex about that moment, she'd remember possibly. There's a high chance, right? But if we asked you if you remember, you damn sure remember. You just shared it with all of us. And so as men, what do we do when we absolutely fail? When we know we want to have the emotional capacity, we know we want to show up, we know we wanted to present ourselves this way and show that our wife and our kids are valuable, and we blow it.
Right.
Because as men, we keep talking about failure and we get back up to bat. We don't know how to recover from that. And I want to read something because it's really important. So when you blow it, because you will, you're human. By the way, so will your kids. So the most powerful thing I can think of to say right now is you want to be a strong dad. Show your kids how to come back because they're going to fail too. They're not perfect. That's why all these PK kids are so jacked up.
Sheesh, that was a good word already.
Proverbs 18:1 says, whoever isolates himself, and this is truth. So Bryan and I and Thad, listen, the Bible to us is God's word and is 100% truth. Here's how you don't fail. So Proverbs 18:1 says, whoever isolates himself seeks his own desires. He breaks out against all sound judgment. When you fail, and you will,
Right.
you better find some safe people, men, and you better go tell them about it. And what you need to tell them is bare your heart, bare your emotions, and say, help me figure out where to go next. How do I go back? Help me figure out what to say. If you will humble yourself to men that have been there, your life will improve tenfold. Because the truth of the matter is we were not created. We were created to multiply. We were created perfect. We brought sin in, but we were not created to do life alone. The isolation is actually a lie from the world and the enemy. It says that our enemy prowls around like a roaring lion. This whole 6-7 crap going around, by the way. The biblical number of 6 is the day of man. That's our selfishness, making our own desires. And the enemy's going to come into that and go, you know what? You're right. You can do all this without God. And we're going to torment ourselves and everybody else. 7 was completion, where God looked at what he made perfect, what he called in his image, and he indwelt in it to do life with it. When we reject him, we're away from life, and we're drowning. So we were meant to do life together. It says in James 4:8, it says, God says, draw near to me, and I'll draw near to you. Cleanse your hands, your sins, and purify your hearts. You double-minded, like he's calling people to him because they're living away from him, and it's just so toxic. And Scripture also tells us then to take it to man to have some freedom, to unburden ourselves with other people and let them help guide you. Like I said, Tara and I had to break down to a point on a couple things where the counselor let us know, well, Kellen, this happened to you at 8. Like what he got down to after like 3 sessions and a ton of money was, hey, you're 8 dealing with dad,
Right.
toxically, and Tara, you're 12 dealing with mom. And you've got an 8-year-old and a 12-year-old yelling these things at each other, begging for an adult to come into the room. And from that moment on, God helped that conversation, understanding that that's why we were fighting. And it helped us reframe and quit attacking each other. But guess what? We failed. But we didn't stay in failure. We wanted to make our marriage better. We sought people that could help us. And like for men, we dang sure didn't isolate, because that's defeat. That is selfishness.
Yeah. I mean, and as we tie it down here and as we move into this Thanksgiving time and a holiday time, we want to kind of speak directly to men on, hey, I know that it sounds really weird to say just don't do things. You know, what we want to say is, of course, we don't want you to do that. But if you're feeling the need or the urge to do that, you've got to connect. Connect with someone around you. If you don't have someone to connect with, we've gotten a number of messages directly into us. We will respond to that. We will connect with you. We can offer you connection in other places too if you're looking for something specific. We'll help you if you're wanting that help. The problem is if you can't at least put a flare in the sky, we've got to know. You know, I know it's hard. You're struggling. Maybe you're depressed. You've lost everything, or you're on the edge of whatever it is. At least shoot a flare up for us in some way so that we can help you, or someone around you can help you. We want guys to understand that the growth part comes from making mistakes. We're not telling anyone not to make them. What we're trying to tell you to do is once you make them, figure out how to learn from them. When that next opportunity comes for you to freak out, stop and remember, what did that cost me last time? What did that steal from me the last time I did it? And let's rearrange behavior. Let's change the pattern. And that's how we rewire ourselves, is when we're presented with another opportunity. Take a second and just remember what it cost you last time, and don't do it. I mean, when you start to think about this, Kellen, when you freak out and you give of yourself, your stress and your freak out and your spin out, you're giving your edge away for free. You're giving the scenario, the enemy, you're giving everyone the best parts of you ruined up in this crazy way for free. Let's train that a little bit differently.
Well, I'll give 2 examples too. I had a guy call me, right? He made all these decisions for the new year. We're going to approach the new year, right? And he calls me freaking out. Said, hey, I need to connect. So the healthy thing he did was reach out to me. He is so eat up by his emotions. And by the way, you know the number of times I've been eat up by emotions? I can't count them. Bryan, how often have you just spiraled in a ton of emotions or a hard season? So guess what? When he calls me, I'm outside of his entire story. I don't feel any of those emotions. And he's like trying to eat this, and he's doing this at work with these new goals, and he can't work out his hour and a half. Dude, he has a 6-month-old baby that won't sleep. And all he needed was for me to be like, bro, this is a 6-month-old baby season. This is your first kid. You don't get to have the season you're dreaming of. For
you
another
can
season.
take off at the gym with a 6-week-old baby. Like you can take it off.
I helped him talk through his schedule because I'd been there, and he's like, there are men out there that have already been there. And the second thing that I'll say is, if you're digging in and listening to this, almost every man, and this is the enemy. You hear they won't understand, or I'm the only one dealing with this, and that is the enemy, because we all deal with a lot of the same things. When we do our ministry, we bring a bunch of guys in, we have a ton of fun, then we circle them up and we walk through whatever you're thinking. It's one of the things we bring up. We have guys step forward, and like half the room steps forward, and it breaks that lie immediately. What you see is other guys that isolate, or other guys that have broke down on their family, or other guys that are taking off because the season's hard and they've started drinking a little too much, and they've noticed it, but they don't know what to do. We bring those things up, and half the stinking room steps forward that they've dealt with the same thing. So I want you to know that you're not the only person dealing with this.
Well, and you're not soft. You're not a pansy for doing this. You're setting boundaries. When you set boundaries, you're setting boundaries to keep yourself from reacting to other people and things nonsense. You're not setting boundaries for the reasons that you set them. That things are still going to happen to you. What the boundary does is it allows you to control reaction and response. It does not control what happens to you. People think when they set boundaries, it means they're getting rid of certain people, places, and things. You're not. You don't get to control all the time how people come at you, but you do get to control the way that you act. That's a boundary for you, is, hey, if it's going to steal peace or spin me out, if it's not of God, if it's not, doesn't match up with the word, I don't respond this way. And so we're not telling you to become a puss. We're trying to tell you it's not that. That's the strongest thing you can do, is change the way you react. I work on that constantly. I'm the worst about instant, it's like getting punched in the mouth. You're already punching back. If you're in a real fight, think about that. How many times do you get, if you would get punched in a fight, you just stand there? You're already punching. Your brain is reacting right away. Well, we do that verbally and emotionally. And what we have to do is learn that that's actually a losing strategy. So we're challenging to change your strategy. We're challenging you to slow down. Some of the best advice I ever got from a counselor was Kevin Neiman. Just slow down, dude. That solves so many problems in many areas of life, because you're not thinking clearly when you're spinning. And once you slow down, you can actually react. Even in my example I gave you guys of the chicken. Dude, if I would have taken a minute to not offer up reaction, slow down, I would have gone, this means a lot to them. I think it's stupid, but it means a lot to them. The kids are going to be weird about this already. They had to see this. It's horrible. I could have brought it down, but instead, my instinct took over. I'm annoyed and I freak out. So guys, we want you to understand, get slow. Get slow in everything that you're doing. We're moving into Thanksgiving. We want to tell you guys, we're very grateful for you guys again. Like we mentioned, we're very thankful. I think we end today kind of on kind of like a theme of saying what we're thankful for, as we go into a prayer. But we want to make sure you guys remember to give us reviews. We got to remember that. We got to keep saying it. Give us reviews. Share the podcast. We don't spend money on this, and we don't charge you money for this. And so the opportunity for us to share with you, which is one that we take we have a lot of honor for, is a great opportunity for us, but we're not going to charge anybody to get access to it either. So,
well, not that it's a big deal, but just God allowing us to create this space to do this, and people like Sean, Rubens Cunha, Gabe Sherman coming in and sharing what they've shared. We want it to touch more people. We really are blessed by the people that are deciding to not just come in here, but take 2 or 3 hours away from their day to come record, and speak life to you guys.
Yeah, and I really appreciate you guys. I'm getting messages, it seems like on a weekly basis now, of people offering up their time to connect with us. And We will likely try to get to as many people as we can. Understand that we can't always get to people. Also, we do have a certain, direction we're going most of the time. And so maybe what certain people aren't going to line up, that's not an insult to you. If you don't hear back from me on a response, it's not personal. It's just, maybe it doesn't line up. It's not a big deal. We do want to stick going a certain direction. If a NASCAR driver wants to come on and talk about NASCAR, we may not do that. So
we can do a whole series on mullets.
We could figure it out. So Thad, you start. One thing you're thankful for.
I'm thankful that my kids are at an age where everything is magic.
Yeah, fun.
It's everything is so cool.
Yeah.
And they're super enamored with stuff. And me putting up the Christmas lights was oh my gosh, look what Dad did with the Christmas lights kind of thing. Even though it took me 4 hours to do it and missed half the day kind of thing.
So funny that you said that. Our kids' legacy's almost 5. So it's 4.5, a little over 4.5. And yesterday he wanted nunchucks from Ninja Kids.
Yeah.
So I ordered them because it's an Amazon thing, and it can
Michelangelo.
Yeah.
Have you watched the Ninja Turtles yet?
Next day is pretty fast, right?
Yeah.
But he's like, when? I'm like, tomorrow. They'll be here tomorrow. Whole day goes by. We go to bed. We wake up. The first thing.
Oh, yeah.
The first thing.
He's a normal 5-year-old, bro.
He ends up in my bed. That's what he does now.
Yeah.
Wakes up. He's looking at me. Head's not even raised up yet.
It's on the pillow.
Hey, we go get my nunchucks. They're here today. Like, dude, it's barely today. It's barely today.
It's 8 a.m.
They're not here yet. So I know what you mean, Thad. That's
super
this
cool.
age, for men, hey, slow down.
But it's
Slow
just
down.
so fun because they're so, my daughter's 2, and she's really cute. But when something fun happens, she just goes, "Oh my gosh!"
Yeah.
And it's the most drawn. And I'm like, "Please stay tuned for
And you're there to
forever."
hear it. Yeah.
I'm
That's
this
so
is
good.
awesome.
One of the cool things about getting Legacy was another shot
Yeah.
at doing that.
Yeah, for sure, bro.
We do it. Well, you're kind of young, and you're doing a really good job. But some of us were younger than you when we started, and we just weren't. We didn't mean it on purpose. It wasn't intentional, but we're running. We want to get this done, and that turns into more and more and more, and then all of a sudden it's been 10 years. So that's been kind of cool. So that's not my thankful thing, by the way. I've already used that one before. What's yours, Kellen?
Man, just taking all this in, Thad, one thing, Bryan and I are so proud of you, as a man. I don't mean this lightly, but the tears in his eyes, and I'm about to get choked up. I missed so many of my kids' years working or in my head thinking something was so important to chase, and it's just not. I'm thankful right now that I actually have the presence and finally have the emotional state and wisdom to enjoy my kids for a couple of days over this break and not try to Dude, I used to look at it as how much business planning I can get done in the next 5 days. Just such a toxic business thing. And I'm so thankful that God has healed me of that. I'm thankful, and I'm going to say it from the topic, that there's some old farts in the church that I love to death that have been on my butt every time they see me about my wife and my kids. That's one of the most valuable things on the planet is these older dudes, if you get in the right place, that'll just get in your business and make sure that you understand what's important.
Right. No, that's 100% that. I mean, we're offering up kind of excuses, but it's these things from the past that if we could have just had a little more direction. I didn't have good framework. Still not a great excuse. There were probably plenty of people around that could have given me some. I was just so focused on winning and competition, and it all started pure. I just wanted to work. I wanted to provide. I wanted to get it done, but that thing gets addictive.
It can.
And
it's a drug.
If you still hear men 10, 12 years into a career that have no work-life balance saying things like, I just want to provide, I'm doing this for you, they're doing it for them. We did it for you in year 1 and 2, speaking of a partner, but now we're doing it for us.
Man, we need to do an episode on what does manly biblical provision mean?
Yeah, that's a tough one. So Is it my turn?
Now, what are you thankful for besides
Yeah,
your
we're-
extremely gay hoodie?
Yeah. Thankful for Tiffany. I'm thankful for an array of hoodies that I can wear that can clearly trigger Kellen.
Most things you wear trigger Kellen. Let's just state
Only
that
to the
obvious
president.
fact.
I just wore it for safety.
My thankfulness is actually pretty simple this year. In going with realizing a couple days ago, man, weird that I'm doing this. They're dead, and so, but what's cool about the having friends and people around in certain circumstances is, we're gonna have friends over for Thanksgiving, and maybe in similar situations, but when you have friends that are just so cool, I just say it audit because people know. I mean, Easy was instantly like, you know what? A lot of times we go to Texas on Thanksgiving, but my mom and them were just here. We just kind of celebrated. We're just going to hang back this year and do that. And that's just cool to me because so many people already have their plan and their structure and what they're going to do. It's cool to have people around that have the opportunity and that at the same time they're just selfless about those situations to where it's just easy. It's not like this is no big deal. We're just going to pivot. We're going to do it this way. So, I would just say I'm thankful to have a great group of people around to where someone has the opportunity to make that call and, it's not a big deal. We'll just do normal Thanksgiving like we would normally do it. I had actually just a few days ago, a few days ago, I had just told Anna, I was like, hey, you guys are probably going to do something more traditional for Thanksgiving. I'm not going to do anything. If they want to go with you, I get it, because her family's all still alive. She had a bunch of siblings, and I know they're going to do something. I was like, I'm not going to have my feelings hurt. And she was just like, oh, it doesn't matter to me. She was like, just ask them what they want to do. So I asked them, and they just wanted to stay. I was like, well, I'm telling you guys, this may be cereal. We make kids, if we're not doing anything, I'm not going to cook anything. We're going to eat cereal and watch TV. And they're like, we'll just stay here.
We're ordering in Chinese for sure that day.
So anyways, that's what I'm thankful for. We got to tie it down.
Yeah.
You want to pray it out? One of you guys want to pray it out?
I do. That's all right. Yeah, Heavenly Father, we just thank you, Lord, that you've made room. Lord, we thank you that you're close to the brokenhearted, that you rescue all whose spirits are crushed. And there's so many this season, including my brother Bryan. I just pray over him right now and how you're ministering his heart. I thank you for it, Lord, but grieving's important. Man, I just pray for anybody listening to this, that they wouldn't push past it, that they wouldn't shove it down, that they're hurting, they'd call somebody safe and tell them, Lord, but they'd come close to you and just tell you how bad it hurts to lose somebody, bear those emotions to you and get some healing for their heart. I also pray for all those that have realized, that I put my foot in it, if you're a guy or I'm pushing stuff down. And man, if you're tired of doing it, I just pray that you get the freedom to experience the truth, that God wants you to come close to him and he'll always provide for you. He'll give you peace in the middle of a storm, but he'll also start to put people around you that are safe, that you can bear these things to and start to be unburdened. I just pray, Lord, for anybody listening to this, that you help them be unburdened, that you surround them, Lord, with real believers, those that want to walk it out, those that want to deny the things that their flesh wants, those that war when their selfishness comes up and they just learn how to give that to you, that those people would start to pray over those that, are lost in suffering and isolation. Lord, and I just pray against any attack happening to anybody that's isolated or anybody that's caught on social media listening to the nonsense of the world and feels like they're drowning. Lord, that you meet them right where they're at, Father, and you start to provide freedom through your presence. And I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Well, happy Thanksgiving and get canceled.
Get canceled.
Get canceled, eat pie for breakfast.
Yeah.